Suffering isn't born from the events that happen to us, it's born from the meaning we assign to those events. Think about this: two people can go through the same experience, the same exact set of circumstances, yet walk away with completely different emotions, mindsets, and outcomes. One person may feel devastated, as though their world is falling apart, while the other may see the experience as an opportunity to grow or learn. The difference lies not in the event itself, but in how each person interprets it, in the story each one tells themselves about what it means. When something difficult or painful happens, our minds instinctively start creating a narrative around it. We ask questions: why did this happen to me? Or what does this mean about my life, my future, my worth? Those questions seem natural, but if we answer them in a way that reinforces negative beliefs or feelings of powerlessness, we end up prolonging our suffering. For example, if we believe life is against us or that we're somehow unworthy of happiness, then every setback, every challenge, every difficult moment starts to feel like proof of that belief. It reinforces the story we're already telling ourselves. But what if that same experience was assigned a different meaning? Imagine seeing a hardship not as a punishment or a sign of failure, but as a moment of learning, as evidence of strength, or even as an essential step towards something greater. That shift in perspective doesn't necessarily change the external situation, but it completely alters our internal response to it. The pain might still be there, the challenge might still be present, but the suffering, the prolonged, deep-seated emotional struggle starts to dissolve because we're no longer resisting it or fighting the meaning we used to give it. This is where true freedom lies, in understanding that circumstances alone don't dictate our happiness or suffering. It's our interpretation, our narrative, our internal dialogue that shapes our experience of reality. Radical acceptance means embracing the present moment and everything within it, exactly as it is, without judgment or resistance. It's a deep, unwavering acknowledgement of reality, not the idealized version we may want, but reality as it truly stands. This concept is powerful because so often we fight against what's in front of us, holding on to a mental image of how things should be, clinging to the past, or desperately wishing for a future that isn't here yet. But that mental resistance only fuels our suffering. It traps us in a cycle of frustration, disappointment, and pain. When we practice radical acceptance, we stop expending energy on wishing things were different. We stop replaying the same frustrations in our minds and wrestling with circumstances we cannot change. This doesn't mean we give up on improving our lives or that we lose ambition. Instead, it allows us to start from a place of clarity. By fully accepting what is, we gain the strength to see clearly what can be changed and what must simply be faced. Radical acceptance isn't passive, it's active and deliberate. It's a decision to be present, to own this moment, no matter how challenging or uncomfortable it may be. This kind of acceptance frees us from the illusion of control. We often believe we can or should be able to control everything: people, situations, outcomes. But that illusion is a prison. As we let go of it, we experience a profound sense of relief. We begin to understand that our power lies not in manipulating every element around us, but in fully participating in the life unfolding in front of us. By accepting things as they are, we release ourselves from the exhausting tug of war with reality and instead create the mental space to respond thoughtfully, compassionately, and effectively. Radical acceptance also teaches us that it's okay to feel everything: the grief, the disappointment, the joy, the uncertainty, without needing to push it away or pretend it doesn't exist. In allowing ourselves to accept these emotions without labeling them as good or bad, we gain a sense of emotional freedom. We start to see our feelings as waves passing through us, temporary and ever-changing, rather than as permanent states we're stuck in. This helps us detach from the idea that every uncomfortable feeling is something to be fixed or avoided, which in turn leads to a greater peace within ourselves. Ultimately, radical acceptance is a doorway to liberation. It dissolves the self-imposed restrictions that come from wishing life was different than it is. When we accept, we free ourselves from the burden of resistance, from the constant need to control, from the endless cycle of frustration. We're left with a clear mind and a clear heart, ready to act from a place of genuine presence, strength, and authenticity. Resistance is one of the most natural responses we have to discomfort and pain. When something unpleasant or challenging enters our lives, our first instinct is often to push against it, to deny it, to pretend it doesn't exist, or to obsessively try to change it. We think that by resisting, we're somehow taking a stand, protecting ourselves, or maintaining control. But in reality, resistance doesn't shield us from pain, it amplifies it. By refusing to accept what's happening, by rejecting the present moment, we create a tension between ourselves and reality that can lead to a sense of frustration, hopelessness, and ongoing mental and emotional struggle. This tension, this resistance, takes many forms. It can be the denial of loss, where we refuse to accept that something or someone important to us is gone. It can be the anger we hold on to after a betrayal, or the endless rumination over what could have been or what might have gone differently. Every time we resist, we place ourselves in an unwinnable battle, because we're pitting ourselves against the truth of what's happening. No matter how much we resist, reality will remain the same. The only thing that changes is our level of inner peace. The more we resist, the further away we drift from it. When we resist, we give our power away to whatever it is we're resisting. We let it take up space in our minds, often to the point where it becomes all-consuming. Our focus narrows down to the problem, to what we believe is wrong, and we replay it over and over, hoping that somehow, through sheer force of will, we can rewrite the past or bend the present to our liking. This mental loop doesn't bring relief. Instead, it keeps us locked in place, unable to move forward because our energy is tied up in fighting a battle we cannot win. Moreover, resistance adds layers to our suffering. Let's say we experience an initial pain, like a disappointment, a rejection, or a loss. The pain itself is natural, it's a part of being human. But when we resist it, when we tell ourselves that it shouldn't have happened or that it's unfair, we add another layer of suffering on top of that pain. Now, we're not only dealing with the original feeling, but also the frustration, anger, and helplessness that come from wishing things were different. The secondary suffering often becomes heavier than the original pain itself. It consumes us, blinds us to any solutions, and keeps us in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. Resistance also keeps us from growing. Every experience, no matter how painful, holds a lesson, an opportunity for insight, and a chance to develop resilience. But if we resist it, we miss out on that chance to evolve. We focus only on what we don't like, what we want to change, rather than on what we can learn or how we can adapt. By accepting what is, even if it's painful, we open ourselves up to new perspectives and allow ourselves to find strength we might not have known was there. But resistance blocks this path, holding us in a state of stagnation where growth becomes impossible. In resisting, we also isolate ourselves. Often when we're resistant, we put up walls to shield ourselves from vulnerability. We don't want to face the reality of our situation, so we keep it at arm's length, blocking ourselves from fully connecting with others who might offer support or perspective. We become so focused on our struggle that we lose sight of the world around us, of the possibilities and support systems that could ease our journey. Resistance narrows our vision, trapping us in a self-imposed prison of solitary struggle. Shifting focus to what you can control is a powerful tool in regaining a sense of peace, resilience, and empowerment. Life is full of situations that we cannot influence the actions of others, unexpected changes, past mistakes, natural events, and so much more. These things can feel overwhelming when we give our energy to worrying about them, ruminating on them, or wishing we could alter them. But trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to hold water in our hands that slips right through, leaving us feeling frustrated, powerless, and often defeated. When we consciously direct our focus to the things within our control, we reclaim that lost energy and channel it into areas where we can actually make a difference. It begins with a simple yet powerful realization we may not be able to control every event that occurs, but we can control our response to it. We can choose our thoughts, our actions, our perspective. We can control how we show up in the face of challenge, how we speak to ourselves, how we treat others, and what we decide to focus on. This shift in focus transforms us from passive participants reacting to whatever life throws our way into active creators who decide how to approach each moment, each decision. Focusing on what we can control also gives us back a sense of stability. When life feels chaotic, uncertain, or painful, having even a small area where we can take meaningful action becomes an anchor. It reminds us that no matter what, there's always something we can do, whether it's changing our attitude, adapting our approach, or simply taking a step forward. This sense of personal agency can relieve stress because it grounds us. It turns our attention away from what's outside our influence and back to our own capacity to make choices. That shift isn't just about feeling better in the moment, it builds resilience over time, helping us adapt and thrive no matter what external circumstances come our way. In focusing on what we can control, we also learn to let go of the need to change others. Many times, our suffering stems from a desire to influence or control the behaviors and decisions of people around us. We believe that if only they would change, if only they would act a certain way or see things from our perspective, everything would be better. But this focus on others' choices keeps us tied up in unnecessary tension. When we redirect our focus to our own actions and responses, we release that need. We find that we don't need everyone around us to behave perfectly or agree with us. We simply need to show up as our best selves, acting in alignment with our values and priorities. This shift in focus also cultivates a more solution-oriented mindset. When we're preoccupied with the uncontrollable, we often dwell on problems without moving toward answers, feeling like everything is happening to us rather than for us. By focusing on what we can control, we naturally become more proactive, thinking in terms of what actions we can take, what steps we can plan, and how we can use each moment as a building block. Our mind moves from obstacles to opportunities, from helplessness to possibility. This mindset doesn't guarantee that we'll solve every problem instantly, but it opens the door to creativity and innovation, making it far more likely that we'll find workable solutions over time. Shifting focus to what we can control also cultivates emotional resilience. When we spend less time fixated on the things we cannot influence, we become less vulnerable to the highs and lows of external situations. Instead of allowing every external setback to dictate our inner state, we develop a steady core of inner strength. We train ourselves to respond rather than react. This makes us more adaptable and more capable of navigating uncertainty because our peace of mind no longer hinges on everything going exactly as planned. We can handle disruptions, disappointments, and unexpected changes with a sense of calm and clarity, knowing that we have control over our perspective and our response. Ultimately, focusing on what we can control shifts our entire approach to life. We stop waiting for the world to change in our favor and start using our power to create the experiences we want. This shift may seem small, but it is profound because it transforms us from being at the mercy of life's circumstances to being the authors of our own story, equipped to shape our reality from the inside out. Seeing obstacles as opportunities is a transformative perspective that can dramatically reshape our approach to life's challenges. At first glance, obstacles may appear as barriers or roadblocks, presenting themselves as problems that we must navigate around or overcome. However, if we shift our viewpoint and reframe these obstacles as opportunities, we begin to unlock their potential for growth, learning, and self-discovery. This reframing starts with an understanding that every challenge carries within it the seeds of possibility. When we encounter a setback, it can trigger feelings of frustration, anger, or despair, often leading us to focus solely on the negative aspects of the situation. However, if we consciously choose to view these moments through a lens of opportunity, we can identify what we might learn from them, how we can adapt, or even how we can innovate. For instance, consider the experience of losing a job. At first, this may seem like a catastrophic event. However, if we look at it as an opportunity, it can lead us to explore new career paths, develop new skills, or even pursue passions that we had set aside. Each obstacle can act as a catalyst for change, urging us to reassess our values, priorities, and goals. In this context, obstacles become teachers, offering us valuable lessons that we may not have encountered otherwise. Every challenge provides insight into our strengths and weaknesses, helping us to understand what we're truly capable of achieving. For example, a difficult relationship can expose our communication styles, revealing areas for improvement in how we connect with others. A health crisis can compel us to reevaluate our lifestyles and make healthier choices that we might have overlooked in our busy lives. By embracing these challenges as opportunities for personal development, we cultivate resilience and grow into our best selves. Furthermore, when we see obstacles as opportunities, we develop a more proactive mindset. Instead of feeling victimized by our circumstances, we take ownership of our reactions and choices. This proactive stance empowers us to seek solutions rather than dwell on the problems. For instance, when faced with an unexpected setback, instead of succumbing to discouragement, we can brainstorm alternative strategies or seek guidance from mentors who have overcome similar challenges. This proactive approach fosters a sense of agency, reinforcing the belief that we are capable of navigating difficulties and emerging stronger on the other side. In addition to fostering resilience and a proactive mindset, seeing obstacles as opportunities encourages creativity and innovation. When we encounter a problem, it often pushes us out of our comfort zones and compels us to think outside the box. We become motivated to explore alternative solutions and new ways of thinking. This creative problem-solving process can lead to unexpected breakthroughs, innovative ideas, and fresh perspectives. For instance, many successful entrepreneurs credit their greatest innovations to challenges they faced along the way. When they encountered obstacles, they were forced to adapt, leading to creative solutions that propelled their businesses forward. This shift in perspective can also enhance our emotional well-being. When we view obstacles through a lens of opportunity, we reduce feelings of helplessness and frustration. Instead of feeling defeated by life's challenges, we cultivate a mindset of hope and possibility. This positive outlook can lead to increased motivation and engagement as we find purpose in navigating obstacles. Our emotional resilience grows stronger, allowing us to approach future challenges with confidence and optimism. Additionally, seeing obstacles as opportunities fosters a sense of community and connection. When we share our experiences with others, we often discover that we are not alone in facing challenges. By framing our obstacles as opportunities, we create space for dialogue and support, encouraging others to do the same. This shared experience can lead to collaboration, problem solving, and mutual encouragement, enriching our lives and the lives of those around us. Ultimately, the ability to see obstacles as opportunities is a powerful skill that can fundamentally alter how we experience life. It encourages us to embrace challenges with curiosity rather than fear, to approach setbacks with a sense of purpose, and to recognize that within every obstacle lies the potential for growth, innovation, and transformation. By adopting this mindset, we cultivate a more resilient, creative, and empowered approach to life, turning obstacles into stepping stones on our journey towards success and fulfillment. Reframing the stories we tell ourselves is a crucial skill for navigating the complexities of life. Our internal narratives shape our perceptions, emotions, and ultimately our actions. They act as lenses through which we interpret our experiences, influencing how we respond to challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. Yet many of us fall into the trap of negative self-talk and limiting beliefs that can stifle our potential and keep us mired in feelings of inadequacy, fear, or hopelessness. By consciously reframing these stories, we can transform our mindset and reshape our experiences in powerful ways. The process of reframing begins with awareness. It requires us to pause and listen to the narratives running through our minds, to notice when we're engaged in self-defeating thoughts or harsh judgments about ourselves or our circumstances. These stories often arise in response to specific events or situations, perhaps after a mistake at work, a rejection in our personal lives, or a perceived failure in our goals. In these moments, it's easy to fall into a pattern of negative thinking where we label ourselves as not good enough. A failure or unworthy, these narratives become automatic, creating a cycle of negativity that can cloud our judgment and hinder our growth. Once we become aware of these harmful narratives, the next step is to challenge and reframe them. This involves questioning the validity of our thoughts and recognizing that they are not facts, but rather interpretations of reality. For instance, if we experience a setback and immediately think, I always mess things up, we can challenge that belief by asking ourselves, is that really true? What evidence do I have to support this claim? By examining the situation more closely, we often find that our initial interpretation is overly harsh or simplistic. Instead, we can reframe the story by acknowledging that setbacks are a normal part of life, that everyone makes mistakes, and that these experiences provide valuable lessons for growth and improvement. Reframing also involves looking for the silver lining or the potential positive outcomes of a challenging situation. For instance, if we lose a job, it can be easy to spiral into thoughts of despair and hopelessness. However, by reframing the narrative, we might recognize this loss as an opportunity to explore new career paths, acquire new skills, or pursue a passion we had set aside. This shift in perspective can transform our response from one of defeat to one of proactive engagement, encouraging us to take positive steps forward. Moreover, reframing our stories can help us cultivate a growth mindset. Instead of viewing challenges as insurmountable obstacles, we can begin to see them as opportunities for learning and development. This mindset shift encourages us to embrace challenges, take risks, and view failure as a stepping stone to success. For example, instead of telling ourselves, I can't do this, it's too hard, we can reframe the story to say, this is challenging, but I have the ability to learn and grow from this experience. This shift fosters resilience and a sense of agency, allowing us to approach life with curiosity and determination. Reframing also has a significant impact on our emotional well-being. When we tell ourselves positive, empowering stories, we can reduce feelings of anxiety, stress, and self-doubt. For instance, if we face a difficult conversation and think, I'm going to mess this up, we can reframe that narrative to, I'm prepared for this conversation and I have valuable insights to share. The shift not only boosts our confidence, but also creates a more constructive emotional state that enhances our performance and engagement. Additionally, the stories we tell ourselves can influence our relationships with others. Negative narratives often lead to feelings of isolation and disconnection. When we view ourselves through a critical lens, we may hesitate to reach out for support or share our vulnerabilities with others. However, by reframing these narratives, we open ourselves up to deeper connections and authentic interactions. For example, instead of believing no one cares about my problems, we can shift to a narrative that acknowledges the value of sharing our experiences and seeking support, fostering a sense of community and understanding. Reframing our stories also requires practice and patience. It's not always easy to shift deeply ingrained narratives, especially those that have been reinforced over time. It may take conscious effort to replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations and to cultivate self-compassion. However, with consistent practice, this reframing can become a natural part of our thought process, empowering us to approach life with a more constructive mindset. Ultimately, the stories we tell ourselves shape our experiences and influence our capacity for growth and fulfillment. By actively reframing these narratives, we unlock new perspectives, foster resilience, and open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. We move from a mindset of limitation to one of empowerment, from a place of fear to a place of courage. The stories we choose to tell can become powerful tools for change, guiding us on a journey of self-discovery, growth, and authentic living. Choosing empowerment over helplessness is a fundamental decision that can dramatically alter the trajectory of our lives. Helplessness often manifests as a belief that we are victims of our circumstances, that we have no control over the events that unfold around us. This mindset can be disempowering, leading to feelings of frustration, anxiety, and even despair. When we view ourselves as helpless, we surrender our agency and passively accept whatever life throws our way, becoming stuck in a cycle of negative thinking and inaction. In contrast, empowerment comes from recognizing our ability to influence our lives, to take meaningful action, and to shape our reality. Empowerment is about reclaiming our personal power and acknowledging that, although we may not control every aspect of our lives, we have the capacity to respond effectively to whatever challenges we face. This shift in perspective begins with self-awareness, the realization that we can choose how we perceive and react to situations, even when those situations are difficult or outside our control. When we choose empowerment, we actively seek out solutions rather than succumbing to the weight of our problems. For example, consider a challenging situation like a difficult job or an unhealthy relationship. If we feel helpless, we might dwell on our dissatisfaction, believing that we have no choice but to endure the situation. However, when we empower ourselves, we start to explore options, whether it's seeking new employment, having honest conversations, or setting boundaries. This proactive approach fosters a sense of agency, reminding us that we are not passive observers in our lives, but active participants capable of making choices that align with our values and aspirations. Another key aspect of choosing empowerment is adopting a growth mindset. This mindset embraces the idea that our abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. When faced with challenges, a growth mindset encourages us to view setbacks as opportunities for learning and growth rather than as insurmountable obstacles. For instance, if we fail at a project, we can reflect on what went wrong, extract lessons from the experience, and apply that knowledge to future endeavors. This reframing not only reduces feelings of helplessness, but also builds resilience, reinforcing the belief that we can overcome adversity and achieve our goals. Choosing empowerment also involves taking responsibility for our actions and decisions. While it's easy to blame external factors for our challenges, accepting responsibility empowers us to make changes and take control of our narratives. This does not mean that we should take on undue blame for things that are genuinely out of our control, but rather that we recognize our role in how we respond to situations. For example, if we find ourselves in a difficult financial situation, instead of feeling overwhelmed and helpless, we can take stock of our spending habits, create a budget, or seek financial advice. This proactive approach fosters a sense of ownership over our lives and instills a belief that we can change our circumstances. Furthermore, choosing empowerment encourages us to cultivate self-compassion and self-care. When we are faced with challenges, it's easy to be hard on ourselves, criticizing our perceived failures or shortcomings. However, self-compassion allows us to acknowledge our feelings without judgment, recognizing that everyone experiences difficulties. By treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, we can better navigate our challenges and empower ourselves to take positive action. This self-care can manifest in various forms, whether through physical activity, mindfulness practices, or seeking support from friends and loved ones. By nurturing ourselves, we build the resilience needed to confront our challenges with strength and clarity. Choosing empowerment over helplessness also involves surrounding ourselves with positive influences. The people we choose to associate with can significantly impact our mindset and outlook on life. By cultivating relationships with those who uplift and inspire us, we create an environment that fosters empowerment. Positive influences encourage us to pursue our goals, challenge limiting beliefs, and celebrate our successes, reinforcing our belief in our capabilities. Conversely, distancing ourselves from toxic or negative influences allows us to break free from the cycle of helplessness that can arise from external negativity. Moreover, empowerment requires setting boundaries. Many of us feel helpless when we allow others to dictate our choices or overwhelm us with their expectations. By establishing clear boundaries, we reclaim our autonomy and prioritize our well-being. This can be especially important in personal and professional relationships where our needs may be overlooked. By asserting our boundaries, we communicate our worth and remind ourselves that we have the right to choose what is best for us. In choosing empowerment, we also embrace the concept of agency, the understanding that we are capable of making choices that shape our lives. This realization can be incredibly liberating. It invites us to reflect on our values, passions, and goals, prompting us to take action that aligns with our true selves. We begin to see ourselves as creators of our own stories rather than passive characters in a narrative written by external forces. This newfound sense of agency fosters confidence and motivation, propelling us toward our aspirations. Ultimately, the choice between empowerment and helplessness is not a one-time decision, but a continuous journey. Life will present us with challenges and obstacles, and at times we may feel overwhelmed or discouraged. However, by consistently choosing empowerment through self-awareness, proactive action, a growth mindset, and positive relationships, we can cultivate a life characterized by resilience, fulfillment, and purpose. Empowerment is not just about overcoming adversity, it's about embracing our potential, stepping into our power, and living authentically in alignment with our values and aspirations. This choice reshapes our experiences, transforms our mindset, and opens the door to a life filled with possibility and growth. Freedom from suffering is fundamentally a mindset rather than a circumstance, a profound truth that can redefine how we experience and navigate the challenges of life. This perspective shifts the focus from external conditions to the internal landscape of our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes. While circumstances can certainly influence our experiences such as facing loss, hardship, or adversity, it is ultimately our mental framing of these situations that determines the degree to which we suffer. The idea that suffering is a mindset stems from the understanding that our thoughts and interpretations of events shape our emotional responses. For instance, two individuals can experience the same event, such as losing a job, yet respond in vastly different ways. One person may view the job loss as a devastating blow, a confirmation of their inadequacies, leading to feelings of helplessness and despair. The other, however, might see it as an opportunity for growth, a chance to explore new paths, or to pursue a long-held dream. This difference in perspective highlights that the source of suffering often lies in our interpretations and judgments rather than the event itself. Cultivating a mindset of freedom from suffering requires conscious effort and a commitment to self-awareness. It begins with recognizing our thought patterns, particularly those that contribute to feelings of distress or dissatisfaction. Many of us engage in negative self-talk or hold limiting beliefs that perpetuate our suffering. These beliefs often stem from past experiences, societal conditioning, or comparisons to others. By becoming aware of these narratives, we can challenge and reframe them. Instead of telling ourselves, "I'm not good enough," we can shift our internal dialogue to affirmations of our strengths and capabilities, reminding ourselves that everyone has their unique journey. A critical component of this mindset shift is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness encourages us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, creating space between our experiences and our reactions. This practice allows us to recognize when we are caught in negative thought patterns and empowers us to choose how we respond. By grounding ourselves in the present moment, we can detach from the narrative of suffering and create a more balanced perspective. Instead of being swept away by overwhelming emotions, we can acknowledge them, understand their transient nature, and let them pass without allowing them to define our reality. Furthermore, embracing a mindset of freedom from suffering involves accepting the impermanence of life. Many of us cling to the idea that our happiness is contingent upon certain conditions being met, such as achieving specific goals, obtaining material possessions, or avoiding pain. However, life is inherently unpredictable, and holding on to rigid expectations often leads to suffering. By recognizing that everything is subject to change, we can cultivate resilience and adaptability. When we encounter challenges, instead of resisting or lamenting our circumstances, we can approach them with curiosity, asking ourselves, "What can I learn from this? How can I grow?" This shift in inquiry transforms our relationship with suffering, allowing us to view it as a temporary state rather than an enduring condition. Moreover, choosing a mindset of freedom from suffering involves embracing self-compassion. Often we are our harshest critics, punishing ourselves for perceived failures or shortcomings. This self-judgment only deepens our suffering. By cultivating self-compassion, we learn to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. Instead of berating ourselves for making mistakes, we can acknowledge our humanity and recognize that everyone struggles at times. This compassionate approach fosters a sense of connection to ourselves and others, alleviating feelings of isolation and encouraging a more positive self-view. Another essential aspect of this mindset is the recognition of our agency. We may not have control over every circumstance, but we have the power to choose our responses. This realization is liberating. It shifts the narrative from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. When we accept that we have the ability to influence our reactions and decisions, we can take proactive steps toward change. Whether it's seeking help, setting boundaries, or pursuing new opportunities, this sense of agency is a cornerstone of freedom from suffering. It invites us to take responsibility for our lives and encourages us to take action aligned with our values and aspirations. Additionally, the freedom from suffering mindset embraces gratitude and appreciation. Often, when we're entrenched in suffering, it can be challenging to see beyond our pain. However, practicing gratitude allows us to shift our focus toward the positive aspects of our lives, however small they may seem. By consciously acknowledging what we are grateful for, we create a counterbalance to negative thoughts and emotions. This practice not only elevates our mood, but also helps us cultivate a more optimistic outlook, making it easier to navigate challenges with grace and resilience. Choosing to adopt a mindset of freedom from suffering also involves surrounding ourselves with positive influences. The people we spend time with, the environments we immerse ourselves in, and the media we consume all shape our perspectives. By seeking out supportive relationships and environments that foster growth and positivity, we reinforce our commitment to a mindset of empowerment. Engaging with those who uplift and inspire us can provide the encouragement we need to shift our narratives and embrace a more hopeful view of life. Ultimately, the journey toward freedom from suffering is a continual process of self-discovery, growth, and intentionality. It invites us to explore the depths of our thoughts and beliefs, to cultivate resilience and self-compassion, and to embrace the impermanence of life. By recognizing that suffering is not an inherent state, but rather a mental construct, we can reclaim our power and choose a path that aligns with our true selves. This mindset allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace, purpose, and an unwavering belief in our capacity to thrive, regardless of our circumstances. Choosing growth over fear is a powerful mindset shift that can transform our lives in profound ways. Fear is a natural human emotion, often rooted in our instinct for self-preservation. It acts as a protective mechanism, alerting us to potential dangers and encouraging us to take caution. However, while fear can serve a purpose in keeping us safe, it can also become a limiting force that prevents us from pursuing our passions, embracing new opportunities, and fully realizing our potential. On the other hand, growth embodies the essence of evolution, change, and the relentless pursuit of improvement. It invites us to step out of our comfort zones, embrace challenges, and learn from our experiences. The first step in choosing growth over fear is recognizing and acknowledging our fears. Fear often manifests in various forms: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, or even fear of success. These fears can create a paralyzing effect, leading us to avoid situations that could foster personal and professional development. By taking the time to identify our fears, we empower ourselves to confront them. Instead of allowing fear to dictate our actions, we can ask ourselves why we feel this way and what lies behind these emotions. This self-reflection is crucial. It provides clarity and insight, enabling us to distinguish between rational concerns and irrational fears that hold us back. Once we have identified our fears, the next step is to reframe them. Instead of viewing fear as an insurmountable barrier, we can begin to see it as a signal, a sign that we are on the brink of growth. Fear often arises in response to situations that are new or challenging, and this discomfort can indicate that we are stepping outside of our familiar territory. When we shift our perspective and recognize that discomfort often accompanies growth, we can approach fearful situations with curiosity rather than dread. For instance, if we fear giving a presentation, we can reframe it as an opportunity to share our knowledge and engage with others, rather than a potential failure. This mindset shift transforms fear from a paralyzing force into a motivating catalyst for action. Furthermore, embracing growth over fear requires us to cultivate resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to challenges, and persist in the face of adversity. When we approach life with a growth mindset, we recognize that failures and setbacks are not definitive endings, but rather stepping stones on our journey. Each experience, whether positive or negative, offers valuable lessons that contribute to our personal development. For example, if we face rejection in a job application, we can choose to view it as an opportunity to reflect on our strengths, areas for improvement, rather than as a confirmation of our inadequacies. By fostering resilience, we empower ourselves to navigate challenges with grace, learning from each experience and using it to fuel our growth. Additionally, surrounding ourselves with supportive influences can enhance our ability to choose growth over fear. The people we engage with, the environments we immerse ourselves in, and the resources we seek all play a significant role in shaping our mindset. Positive relationships encourage us to take risks and embrace growth, providing a safe space to explore our fears. Whether it's a mentor, a supportive friend, or a community group, these connections can bolster our confidence and remind us that we are not alone in our struggles. In contrast, distancing ourselves from negative influences or toxic environments can help mitigate fear and create a nurturing atmosphere where growth can flourish. Taking action is another essential aspect of prioritizing growth over fear. Often fear thrives in inaction. The longer we allow fear to dictate our choices, the more it solidifies and grows. By taking even small steps toward our goals, we begin to dismantle the power of fear. For instance, if we want to start a new project but feel apprehensive about its success, we can break it down into manageable tasks and focus on taking one step at a time. Each action taken in the face of fear reinforces our belief in our capabilities and propels us toward our desired outcomes. Over time, these incremental actions accumulate, leading to significant personal growth and the realization that we are capable of overcoming obstacles. Moreover, the practice of self-compassion is integral to choosing growth over fear. Often when we confront our fears and experience setbacks, we can be overly critical of ourselves. Instead of embracing our humanity and acknowledging that everyone faces challenges, we may engage in negative self-talk. By cultivating self-compassion, we allow ourselves to approach our fears with kindness and understanding.
This shift in attitude enables us to recognize that it's okay to feel fear and that we are deserving of support and encouragement in our journeys.
When we treat ourselves with compassion, we build a foundation of self-acceptance that fosters courage and resilience, empowering us to confront our fears with grace. Additionally, a commitment to lifelong learning reinforces the choice of growth over fear. When we view ourselves as lifelong learners, we embrace the idea that knowledge and skills can be developed over time.
This mindset diminishes the pressure to be perfect or to have all the answers, allowing us to approach challenges with curiosity. Instead of fearing failure, we can see it as a valuable part of the learning process.
For example, if we struggle to grasp a new skill, we can remind ourselves that mastery takes time and practice. This emphasis on learning encourages exploration, experimentation, and a willingness to take risks, all essential components of personal growth. Choosing growth over fear also aligns with our values and aspirations. When we take time to reflect on what truly matters to us, our passions, goals, and dreams, we can better understand how fear may hinder our pursuit of those aspirations. By reconnecting with our core values, we can cultivate a sense of purpose that motivates us to push through our fears. For instance, if our goal is to promote a cause we deeply care about, we can acknowledge that fear of public speaking may arise, but we can also remind ourselves of the importance of sharing our message. This alignment with our values provides the courage needed to confront our fears and move forward. In the grand tapestry of life, the choice between growth and fear is one we face repeatedly. By choosing growth, we empower ourselves to confront challenges with resilience, curiosity, and a commitment to self-discovery. This choice allows us to embrace discomfort, learn from setbacks, and cultivate positive relationships that inspire us to reach for our goals. It reminds us that fear, while a natural part of the human experience, does not have to dictate our lives.
Instead, by prioritizing growth, we can transform fear into a powerful ally on our journey towards self-fulfillment and success. In doing so, we unlock the doors to new opportunities, deeper connections, and a life rich with meaning and purpose.